Woodbury Art Museum has been here for 10 years. This April is actually the 10th anniversary. We have work from local artists in Utah Valley, national artists, international artists, and we rotate and have about 6 exhibitions each year. The Student Art Show is up right now. It's up from March 27th to April 28th, 2012. And we have over 100 works of current students at UVU. It's open to all students from the university and especially showcases the art students from the Department of Art and Visual Communications. Each year we have an annual student art show. We run them concurrently with the BFA final projects, so visitors get to see the current body of work that UVU students are creating and the graduating final thematic projects of AVC seniors. It's really impressive each year to see the caliber of student artworks, the range in media, and also the experiments that they do just in process is a really exciting thing to see. And the Student Art Show is really the only place that you can see it all together. The Woodbury Art Museum is open and free to the public. We're open Tuesday through Saturday. We're accessible and we welcome large groups or just individual visitors. Our exhibitions and programs run on a monthly basis. So for the Student Art Show, we do digital entries. We get about over 330 each year. We do it digitally so that students who get into the show will only have to frame or prepare their work once they find out they're in it and not beforehand. So in case that they don't get accepted, they don't have to put that work into it. So we try to be as student-friendly as possible, and we select a different juror every year. It will be someone that's working in the Utah art scene as an active member. We've had Jeff Lampson from the BYU MOA, Adam Bateman, who's involved with the Quack Museum, and this year's Sean Rossiter, who's the editor of 15 Bytes magazine and a working artist in Salt Lake City. And they look through the entries and they'll narrow it down by about a third. So it goes from over 300 to down to just 100 pieces. The Woodbury Art Museum is located in University Mall in Orem in the southeast corner. We've got easy parking and we're free to the public. So we hope you come and see us.
Ever since I was a little kid, I had a neighbor with a huge garden, and me and my siblings would flood his garden to the point that we could make mud pies and mud castles. And we lived right next to Bear Lake, or 45 minutes away, and so we could always go up there and build sand castles. And so to a point, I've always been interested, I think, in sculpture or in building with my hands. And then it wasn't until my third year in college that I really got involved with ceramics. So I tried ceramics and loved the teachers, loved the people, and I would say all the painting professors that I worked with too. I believe a lot of my painting history in UVU definitely contributed to ceramics. But then when I got in and talked with Mark and Brian, they just cultivated my creativity and just kind of pushed me and honed me into a way of creating that I never had before, and so my experience with them has been absolutely phenomenal, and I appreciate all they've done for me. Originally, if you can imagine, it all started out as it looked like amoeba pieces, or like things that you'd see under a microscope, really organic, flowing shapes that I really enjoyed, and then I really wanted to tie originally a memory of my past. You know, I have a very active family. We go to Lake Powell, we go four-wheeling, we go motorcycling, you know, all of that. And so I wanted to tie all of my past experiences with my family and growing up years into my artwork and have some deep, deep meaning. Finally, one day I just got frustrated with what I was creating, and I just created a very simple, it looked almost like just a triangle with like 3 holes in it, and painted it, glazed it, and fired it, and we had a critique the next Monday or Tuesday, and Mark looked at me and Brian looked at me, my professors, and they were like, "Why aren't you doing more of this? This is so simple, this is so easy, and it looks great, you know? I mean, why don't you pursue this area?" And the more I continued in it, I found out that simplicity for myself, and I look back at my life, hindsight 2020, and I realized that Those times in my life when I'm most frustrated, it's because I'm trying to make every little detail perfect. And so when I take a step back and I look around and I breathe and simplify my life, I've really learned that it's beneficial. If you can just simplify your life, or in this point, the process of my creations, they look so much more clean. They're bold and make a statement, but at the same time, very simple and clean. UVU has been awesome. The engaged theme that UVU has been, it says everything about my own experience. It's been completely engaged, not only with the professors, but with the students, with my personal experience just being in the classroom setting. There's a certain amount of busy work in anything you do, but UVU really liked being involved with the students on any level. Whether it was just the teachers or whether it was the students being involved, we were all kind of involved for this greater good, I guess you could say. And especially in the art department, you can't not be involved when you're in art. One of my favorite quotes, if you will, is dream big and follow those dreams and chase them. And if you don't get them, you'll get somewhere real close, if you believe in them enough.
One of the reasons I came to UVU was I found that their art program was actually fairly competent. The instructors were amazing. I'd seen other art programs in the past, and I felt that UVU felt a little bit more like home with the ideas that I had, and I found a lot of support, so I decided to stay. The idea for my work started kind of since I was a little kid. I lived in Mexico for a few years. I remember walking down the street, and there'd be buses or vans or public transportation vehicles or even like construction vehicles, and they were all diesel powered, and they would leave clouds of black smoke. And I remember thinking, even when I was like 8 years old, man, I don't want to be breathing this stuff. And even back then I realized, there's a lot of these vehicles going around. You add on the many years that I've lived, and it's something that I became very, very aware of. Humans' role on this planet, the role that we chose, is one that causes a lot of environmental issues. Rather than focus on, we're polluting, oh my gosh, we're polluting, the idea is I want to have people start thinking about this, because there are solutions and they're not easy ones. And so without actually opening up the dialogue on how to get to those solutions, will only make it worse. I think as an artist, it's really difficult to evaluate yourself. You tend to go off of others' feedback in some instances, and then you trust what you've learned and what you already know in order to make a determination. But as far as saying this is my favorite over another, I think that it comes down to which one I feel was more successful in giving the idea that I want. I feel that any one of these individually may not give that idea, but I think as a whole they work better to explain what I'm trying to say. I feel that the materials that I used are very closely tied to the message I'm giving. Oil paints are, there's a very toxic element to oil paint. And then you have charcoal, which is, burnt live materials. Then you have the paper, which you have to consume a tree from. And the same thing goes along with acrylic paints, which are made of plastic. So I feel that the materials in some cases directly are related to the message I'm giving. I consider myself a fairly socially and civic-minded artist. Most of the messages I try to give have some semblance of the ideas behind, social movements. So I'm always looking at these things and thinking, what do I feel about them? And then usually I try to portray them in artwork. I think like most musicians would like to be rock stars, I would love to be a studio artist. And I would love to be able to show my art and have people see it and have those kinds of responses to them. I know that isn't always the case, because there's only one out of thousands and thousands of musicians who actually become rock stars. But if nothing else, I'd like to share my message. So if I wind up becoming a teacher, then that'll be a good way to help spread these ideas, which I feel it's very hard to deny that some of these things are really truly happening. I find that the instructors at UVU were extremely knowledgeable in their fields. I've gone to other universities, and I feel that the freedom that I had here at this university may not have been extended at other places. Art is definitely one of the things that is kind of a very large abstract. There isn't a single job in the world that could not benefit from looking at it with an artistic perspective. Every single aspect of our lives, down to the food we eat, to the clothing that we wear, to the houses we live in, incorporates an artistic mentality. And I feel that if you're somebody who wants to pursue that and you have an opportunity to, you should, for sure. I think the more important thing is that don't think of art as somebody painting pretty pictures, because even somebody who makes a delicious meal is an artist. You know, there's more to art than just it goes in a gallery.
With my BFA project, it's called In Transit, which kind of refers to, you know, we take, when you're in transit on a bus, when you're in transit in a car, you know, in transit meaning going somewhere physically, but also it's kind of going somewhere mentally, emotionally. I think that we're all in transit, physically, mentally in transit. So for me, it kind of made sense with being in transit in my life and in my education as I'm finishing it up. But I was taking the bus to school a lot for a while. I just sort of really got inspired by that experience. I really liked taking the bus. I liked kind of observing the people around me, sort of people watching and seeing what happens when we're all waiting to get where we're going. And I just love people and I love to draw people. I hope my art will channel something kind of like a bit of the feeling of when you're at the bus. Is kind of, I like my art to be a little bit humorous, a little bit awkward, a little bit mostly kind of real feeling, like, but not real in a kind of a sad way, real in a happy way, you know, like all the quirky things that happen in our life all the time that they're just kind of awesome and wonderful if you just sort of enjoy them for a minute. I think my favorite piece is probably, there's one of a man, a larger man, and he's holding a 64-ounce big gulp drink, you know, and he's my favorite. I'm not sure why, something just happened with that piece that I felt like it worked out really well. I think I kind of felt something with him because he was a person who, obviously he didn't really care about what anyone around him thought of him. He was belching loudly. He was just sitting there with his drink. He was just real, like he didn't care that anyone saw him, and I thought, that's great, you know? And being a person who is not exactly skinny myself, sometimes I, you know, think it'd be nice to just belch loudly and have no one care, you know, and just not care about it. They all kind of have stories. I can kind of remember what was happening in each of them. There's one of a couple that's having a bit of an argument, and I remember kind of witnessing the argument that they were having, and they were, you know, she was kind of telling him off, and he was kind of on the defensive, but they were just having this argument right there in public loudly. Everyone could see them, and just, you know, it was just kind of fascinating to see them, I guess, doing this without caring the fact that there's people sitting all around them and they're having this argument. And I don't know for sure what they were arguing about, but it was just kind of fascinating, their body language and the way they interact with each other, and just, it was great. Well, I am currently starting off working as a freelance illustrator, and that's my plan at the moment. I'm also planning to enter some art shows in the future. It's very possible I might take some more classes in the future because I enjoy education, I enjoy learning, and I feel like it makes my art better. With my experience at UVU, I've always kind of been an awkward person, and I'm still kind of an awkward person, but I feel like I am a more real person since I began at UVU. I feel like I've had a lot of classes and a lot of things that pushed me to kind of look at myself and realize a lot of things about myself, a lot of things that happened while I was at UVU and because of UVU, that sort of my education to become a more real person and a better person as a whole, and to accept the person I am, because I am what I am who I am, I'm, you know, that's fine, and I like that. I don't have to be glamorous, I'm just a bus person, and I like that. I would definitely tell anyone who's coming to UVU as an art major to not just stay in your comfort zone and not just stay in one discipline. If you're coming in to do illustration, take fine art classes, take digital art classes, and also take classes that challenge you outside of the arts, because they will help you with the arts, as much as it may seem strange. you know, learn art history, but also learn, you know, art future. Learn about, you know, the digital world. Learn how to make a website. Learn how to promote yourself, how to use modern tools and technology, but also how to use the same tools the old masters used. I would say that if you never take the bus, you should look into taking the bus sometimes, if you can, because then you can avoid having to park, which is great, but also you can see all these awesome people on the bus, and there's so many cool things to see. So take the bus, and don't just sit there and hate it. Try and enjoy it a little bit. Try and like enjoy the awkwardness, enjoy the moments that are uncomfortable, because later when you look at them, they make good stories, and they kind of help shape you and reflect you, and I just think it's a great experience. Just, you know, be with people, all kinds of people, and enjoy life.
Well, I'm probably a little bit different than the other students. I grew up with parents that are artists. Grew up in, you know, my dad was an art teacher, and so we had typically as kids growing up, we had art instruction instead of piano lessons, and so we got a chance to really see it and examine it from that point. And I grew up in Heber Valley, and so a lot of my pieces that I've got for my BFA, they're all landscapes and stuff in the area that I grew up with. So in the summertime, we'd go up to the high Uintas, and we'd live up in the high Uintas for the entire summer. So most of my pictures all come from that. When I first enrolled at UVU, I'd looked at multimedia, looked at, in fact, kind of over here in the computer sciences, looked at a bunch of TV broadcasting type stuff, bounced back and forth, and then looked at graphics design, because my father owned a graphic design company as well, and I'd done that, and I looked at that, and that none of it pieced together. And I tried a few classes here or there, none of it pieced together until I started taking watercolor and more drawing classes, and just realized that that's where I wanted to go. That's what made me happy. I enjoy doing it, spending the time between me and canvas. As you go through the classes and you go through the steps that are set up inside the curriculum, it really does teach you to prepare for a job outside of UVU. It helps you understand the market. With the teachers, with their experiences, I would love to do children's book illustration along with gallery work, and so I have two sides of the art. And having people, that are around us constantly that are doing gallery work, or that are doing the children's books, or are published, and etc. They know exactly what it takes to get inside the market, and they're not holding back. Any question that I myself or any of the students have asked about the field, about the market, that we feel we don't know, they've actually been, they feel free to answer it. They've given us, say, hey, here's an agent, this is who I've used, they're fantastic. So they're actively engaged at finding us stuff. So as we're leaving, we're already moving towards that arena. I want to both sell the artwork, like again, do gallery work where I'm actually selling the fine art pieces, do prints of those, some of those as well, and then at the same time do some illustrations for, whether it's editorials or books. That's kind of where my passion is more children's books, having my kids that look at them constantly. I've kind of fallen in love with the children's books. So I've got a couple different pieces that I've really fallen in love with, but all of them they're all kind of part of the same grouping, where I've used watercolor. I've done some pours and stuff on the watercolor, but then I've gone back through, and with pen and ink, I've really helped describe the picture and help frame the picture. I spend a lot of time doing cross-hatching, and cross-hatching, you don't see a lot of it anymore. You see it kind of a disappearing art. And so I'll spend a lot of time behind with just a pen and ink, just going through and defining the lines that I want to have defined, putting the contrast there. I've got one piece in particular that I call it the river, and it's got this stream coming down this brook. And it's just kind of a little mossy area. And I actually had to pour the paint on and the ink on so it would flow, so I had those flow marks in there already as I angled the piece, just so it really felt like that it was water there. I've got another one that's just a simple leaf. That's one of my favorites. This leaf, I used a real fine pen on it, and it's not the biggest drawing in the world, but just to see every detail of the leaf, every little crack, every little spine of the leaf, it was really fun to draw and get out there. And sometimes when you go into the fine arts, a lot of times I'll be doing other stuff where I won't be able to get as fine as I want to. And with the drawings, my big inks and stuff, I'm able to get in there and really put the detail in that'll help express what I'm trying to portray to the to the audience that are looking at it. I would say UVU is really becoming a standalone for the West Coast. I mean, after seeing all the different colleges out there, what they offer as far as art, we offer a broad spectrum. I mean, everything from very non-objective to very illustrative. And we've got people in both ends of that category that can help bring a student and help teach students exactly what they want and what they need to enter the market. My favorite thing about attending UVU is the camaraderie between other students here with the teachers. That how well we get along with each other and how well we mesh, that they're willing to accept everybody. The other students are, whether they know you or not, they welcome you, they help you, they give great suggestions and help inside the classes. One of the instructors, Tawny Schuler, part of what we were building up, she wanted us to do a couple big paintings, 2 or 3 paintings in the semester. And Tawny had us just paint on just smaller pieces of paper. She says, I don't want you to paint anything specific, I need you to paint, because she was trying to teach you texture, and texture builds up leaves, houses, anything. Could work in realism, non-objective. Well, she was helping us build those up, and she was over there just engaged with us, making sure that we understood how it worked and why to do it and how to do it. And she was, getting as messy as all of us were, just, had to paint, putting her time in with us. So the engaged part of that, to see the teacher, elbow deep with us, knee deep with us in the project, really shows that not only is it the right thing to do, but it was the right path to head down so that we could learn from her. So she's going to teach us all her tricks of the trade instead of, well, sorry, you'll have to figure that out on your own. As a whole, if people really listen and open up their hearts to the teachers, my suggestion to them would be to really listen to them, to listen to what they're saying, apply it to your art, and you're going to progressively, you'll take leaps and bounds instead of little steps. You'll take leaps and bounds in growth because you listen to a good critique on your pieces that will help you move on.
I am originally from Alpine, Utah, and I decided to come to UVU because I received a scholarship and we were tight on money, and so that was an easy option for me, and I decided to move on after 2 years. But as I came to become involved with the art program and the professors and the people at UVU, I began to really love it and decided to stay for the rest of my education. I decided to stay at UVU because I found that the professors in the art department, I knew I wanted to go into the arts, but I found that they are all very well-rounded in many of the areas that they've studied, and they had a lot to offer me. I think one of my favorite classes was a Painting 3 class that I took with Catherine Downing. And the reason why I really enjoyed that class was because I grew a lot as an artist, and she made me try things that I'd never tried before and pushed me out of my box. And I was very uncomfortable and I didn't like it at all going through the experience. But as I look back on it, I realized that it really opened me up to new ideas and new ways of going about painting. I am a landscape artist. Landscape to me has been a part of me since I was a little girl. I grew up in very open spaces, lots of fields and trees. Alpine was my place that I grew up. And so it was a natural way of expressing who I am as a person, to choose landscape as an artist. And I found that in painting landscape, there's a lot of beauty that goes unnoticed. I think by everyday distractions, and everyone's busy with things in life, things that they've got going. And we tend to just drive to our destinations without really enjoying what's around us. And I like to try and capture those moments of beauty in nature. When the sun is just peeking through a cloud, or when the sun is rising, just rising, and you get those beautiful colors that you don't see all day long. I feel that enjoying the little things in life makes life richer. And if you can just look for the little things and stay positive in life, then it makes life a lot easier. My overall UVU experience has been awesome. I have really loved it here. I believe that the professors and the people that I've worked with have had a lot to offer me. They have a lot of experience, a lot of different qualities that each professor can bring to you and teach you. And so I think it's good to be open and to be accepting of critiques and accepting of what they have to teach you, because I've learned something different from each professor, and I think all of those different little things that they've taught me have come together in my work to make me a better artist. I would love to be a gallery artist. I want to sell my work in galleries. And as far as getting to that point, one professor in particular has been very helpful, Don Siegmiller. He has a lot of experience in that area, along with many of the other professors at UVU, but he's really been helpful in taking me one-on-one and teaching me the ins and outs of gallery working and things that you need to be aware of in your work when you're trying to sell. And the critiques have also helped with the gallery process because it shows me that there's different views to everything. The public is going to receive my work differently than I perceive it myself. It's good to be aware of multiple views and multiple ideas and things that people are going to think when they look at your work. I have had a lot of interest in my work, which has been a really positive thing for me. You always want feedback as an artist, and positive feedback is definitely much better. I have sold I've sold about 4 or 5 paintings, and so that has been good. My favorite piece that I've done is the High Key Sunrise, and it's my favorite because it was the most challenging, first of all. And the reason why it was challenging is because it was a high key, meaning that there's not a lot of dark values, dark colors in it. And to achieve the feeling that I wanted to achieve in High Key Sunrise was difficult working with no darks. I didn't want to get too much pastel Easter egg colors going on to make it look a little cheesy. And so having those subtle color transitions work out in the high key quality was definitely a challenge. But also the feeling I wanted to get across was a feeling of refreshment when you see a sunrise of a new day, new possibilities, fresh start. And that's what I felt as I sat on the beach. This is a time when I went with my friend to Delta. We sat on the beach together and painted together as we watched the sunrise. The most positive experience that I've had at UVU and the most meaningful thing and helpful thing for me has been the camaraderie. It's really easy to go to school and continue to work with something that you love when there's others around you that are supporting you. Everybody's there for each other and everybody's there kind of for the same reason. We're all helping each other out reach the goals that we would like to achieve. And so it's been a very positive atmosphere to be in as far as the people and the professors and students go. You have to really go with your love and your passion in life, because that's what's going to make you happiest. So I think whatever career, if you're trying to decide between different careers to do in the future, choose the one that your heart wants, not just for the money.